It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, I'm Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, my name is Tyler Hapney. Welcome to Dungeons and Dystopias. Today I am joined by a good friend of mine. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Howdy, I'm Jordan Kraft. Yeah, I'm a friend of Tyler's. I've been a part of various of his campaigns for coming on 5 years now. I think I started joining towards the end of 2019. And
yeah, sounds about right.
yeah, have been in and out of campaigns. I'm a student here at Akron, so that's been occupying quite a bit of my time. But yeah, I'm hoping to be here and have some good stories to tell.
I certainly hope so as well. So I guess let's get right into it.
Sure.
So you've been, I guess it started, your first D&D campaign with me, that was, it was Dewdrop, right?
Cowboy,
all right.
yeah.
So
way back.
So I ran a cowboy campaign when I was in my first year at Ohio University.
Yeah.
And that actually turned out to be the first campaign I ever finished.
Yeah.
It took a few years because we would take breaks and do it in parts, part 1, 2, and 3. But man, there were a lot of good times in Cowboy.
Yeah. Actually, I've only just remembered I did try to join the Cowboy campaign like right at the start.
Yeah, you were you tried to join as Hans.
No, Bell.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
the Changeling.
Yeah, I was going to play a Changeling Bard, and then I was still in high school at the time, and your D&D sessions were on Saturdays, and I was doing speech and debate, so everything overlapped, and I was never able to make it to any session. So
well, I think you made it to one.
we did a session 0, me and Cody, where we went to a bar, and that was it.
Yep, pretty much.
And it took until I was graduating in college, and then finally I had the time to come back, and that's when I really started playing D&D for the first time.
Yeah, and that's when you started playing Hans, and then later, you developed another character, Nico, who became the mainstay for the rest of the campaign.
Right. Yeah.
And the end of that campaign, we really did just kind of throw balance to the wind, didn't we?
Oh God, yes. It was really anything goes, and I mean
was the Wild West,
right? And I think the entire vibe of the campaign was it was very much not super balanced, or it wasn't like looking out to be like, hey, we're trying to do all like. It wasn't trying to be complicated, like really tense gunfights. Instead, it was just, yeah, you guys are here to curb stomp half of everything, you know?
It was supposed to be arcadey, I think was the term we used. It was supposed to be more like an arcade kind of thing.
Arcade, yeah.
A tense, cowboy shootout, which I'd love to do a campaign like that. But, being able to shoot a ton of people like it's Red Dead Redemption 2,
right?
That's got its own appeal.
Yeah. So, you mentioned Nico. I guess I should explain a bit about who Nico was.
Absolutely.
So throughout high school, there was a running joke that I was a communist because in freshman year, I said communism would only work in theory. And somehow instantly everybody was like, oh, so you're a communist. And then it became a running joke. And so my first character was a dwarf who came from your fictional version of the Soviet Union and would constantly espouse how much he loved communism. And he was a little like midget dwarf running around with this pump action shotgun and just out for blood.
You love it.
Yeah.
He I think at one point in the equivalent of what one could call a Mexican library, you found the Teen's Guide to Communism.
Yes.
And that became something that you held on to, I think, for the rest of the campaign before eventually giving it over at the end in a very symbolic gesture, if I remember.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I did pass the torch. And yeah, so... because we went to the Mexican library, and... I guess we should go. There was a series of events that led up to this that I do think is worth telling.
Sure.
So, because I got the book for free, if you remember correctly. We went to the library, and they were pretty much giving away the books. And the reason they were giving away the books is because the world was ending.
I do remember that.
We were on a quest to, what was it, we were trying to destroy the Hell Portal? Or
I believe so.
yeah, it was something where we had to craft a weapon to destroy something. And for the weapon, we needed to create the shaft of it. And the wood we needed was this special dragon wood from this spiritual place in Mexico. Fantasy Mexico. And Fantasy Mexico.
That's the important part.
Right. And we went there, and there was this old tree, no leaves, piece of crap. And we needed to take some wood to make our our pickaxe. And I don't remember how the thought came up, but somehow the thought went from, hey, we just need to take like a branch of this to, hey, let's cut down the whole tree.
Yeah, let's just demolish the whole thing. Surely this wood, if it's good for one magical weapon, could be good for so many more. What could possibly go wrong?
I need to stop you because that wasn't the thought. The thought was, hey, back at our base, we have a bar that we can. We wanted to replace the bar with this magical dragon wood.
That's right. I remember.
We wanted to retrofit the bar. Little did we realize this magical tree was the thing keeping dragons asleep in Mexico.
Oops.
So by tearing down the tree, we then awoke all of the dragons in Mexico.
See, that's why they call it dragonwood.
Right, yeah. That didn't really click in our heads. So we tore down the tree, and instantly everyone was like, oh my god, it's the apocalypse. Because now all the dragons are alive again, and they're going to kill us all.
Oops.
So yeah, afterwards we went back to town, and they're like, hey, it's the end of the world. Take whatever you want. And so Nico wanted the teenagers' Guide to Communism, which, if I remember correctly, was written like it was in the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was made to look like, communism is radical.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, that's Nico.
That was Nico.
That takes me back.
Yeah.
I gotta bring you in on some of my current D&D stuff. Some of the Forgotten Realms stuff.
Yeah.
I think you'd really enjoy it. But let's talk a little bit about cyberpunk.
Okay. Yeah.
So cyberpunk is what you're currently involved with me.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, still.
Yeah. Yeah. So mainly on Saturdays, we get on 7 p.m. and take part in cyberpunk.
And lately things have been kind of kicking off a bit.
Yeah.
Jordan has three characters.
Three characters. Yeah.
One character is in prison right now. So he's not quite available. But
not even normal prison, but
oil company prison, which is arguably worse than a real prison.
Right.
But the one character we kind of want to talk about here, I think, is Tyne. Your IRA Mad Bomber.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tyne, in my version of Night City, one of my players, he came up to me, and he had a particular obsession with the Irish Republican Army.
He's a redhead.
He's a redhead. I guess that explains it.
Yeah.
But he came to me and he was like, "Hey, can we get the IRA in Night City?" And I was like, "You know what? Make me a character, and yeah, we can set something up." So he made a character explicitly for this purpose. And we pretty much worked together to kind of get this all set up to where now the IRA is a faction in Night City, and they run themselves out of a large hotel called the Black and Tan. And a while ago, the IRA back in the homeland sent along a certain character who has a proficiency with explosives.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the IRA, so it's kind of a given tradition. People constantly make jokes about Irish car bombs, whether it's proper or not. And so with that reputation, I figured it made sense for a character, and I wanted to do something with explosives because there's a lot of rules for a lot of different situations in Cyberpunk. And one of the things that really piqued my interest was I feel like grenades just don't get enough attention. So I thought, you know what? I'll make a character to throw them.
And throw them you do.
Yes, indeed.
My God, you throw so many grenades and cause so many explosions.
It's become a problem.
It's become a serious addiction, Jordan.
I've noticed that, like, when I first made the character and first started using it, it was very just every once in a while I do it, and
now it's become
and now it's gotten to the point where you almost deliberately put more civilians in missions just so I can't.
I mean, no one's saying you can't, Jordan.
I can't without consequences.
Yes, and those consequences are cyberpsychosis. A big issue in Night City.
Right.
Going insane. Anyways.
I think that's an interesting topic to talk about. So, like, cyberpsychosis is a big deal in Night City, but I feel like it's kind of worth explaining for people that might not know.
So, in Night City, there's a philosophy that having too much chrome essentially makes the metal in your body override the human in your body. So, you start thinking more like a machine rather than feeling human. And eventually that just kind of culminates into violence, anger, narcissism. There's a whole lot of ways cyberpsychosis can manifest. Jordan knows quite a bit about that because Tyne is one bad day away from going cyberpsycho.
Yes. So it's been my idealized character arc of Tyne was that she was just slowly going to go cyberpsychosis because of, I mean, it's Night City.
It's Night City.
The podcast is called Dungeons and Dystopias because Night City is a dystopia, and I think anybody living in there after enough time, they're gonna go a bit fucking crazy.
A little psycho nuts.
Yeah. And I think the IRA in particular has had a bad time in Night City as of late.
Yes, they certainly have.
Yeah.
As it turns out, being a target of a mega corporation designed around security is a tough one.
So, you're good.
Let's talk a bit now. Go to an element, something that we're trying to introduce every podcast.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about some of our favorite monsters
All right.
in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. So today, me and Jordan are going to be talking a bit about a wonderful little creature known as a flumph.
Right.
Flumphs, for those who have not played D&D, are basically like jellyfishes, but they look like pancakes. They don't exist underwater. They float in the air.
Sentient pancakes.
They're sentient floating pancakes with like tentacles, blue tentacles on the bottom.
Yep.
They're weird. They're weird little guys. They're pacifist by nature. They glow different colors depending on their emotion at the time.
It's almost like a small, floating, creepy puppy. But it's the kind of thing where you definitely don't want to kick it.
You definitely don't. They do have methods of defending themselves. We've got flight mechanics.
Great.
To get away from things. They can speak telepathically.
Yeah.
So that means it can go into your mind and communicate with you.
Mm-hmm.
They can operate like a skunk, where they have a quote sticky foul smelling fluid.
Right.
So apparently, don't mess with a flumph. It's basically like jellyfish skunks.
Yeah. I do know that you have thrown flumphs at us as a moral dilemma in at least one campaign.
I believe flumphs are best used as a moral dilemma because they are so typically puppy-like and kind of innocent that killing one is kind of feels like a crime.
Oh, it is. It definitely does because they live in the Underdark. I don't know if we mentioned that, but the Underdark is generally not a good place to be in D&D.
It's the underground.
Yeah.
It's the hollow earth.
It is the hollow earth, and it is filled with big, scary monsters and creepy things and a lot of things that want to kill you. And yet flumphs are there, and they just float around and are pacifists somehow, despite all of the horrors around them.
Yes, and they make for wonderful moral tests.
Right.
I think that will be it for us today,
Okay.
however. So, you have been listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you so much for listening, and please tune in next week.